And just as a woman is required to submit to her husband, who is her higher authority as it relates to God's order of the family, the husband is also required to submit to his higher authority, which is God.
Yes.
Now, a woman would never have a problem submitting to a man if that man truly submitted to his God. The problem is a lot of us as men don't submit to our God. And so our house is out of order. But submission has always been gender specific. It's always been pointing to the woman. But I'm going to tell you something. Every man that I know on the face of the earth has always submitted to another man. Because if you are ever an employee of a job, you have to submit to your who? Your boss. If you ever played on a sports team, the athlete submits to the who? Coach. If you've ever been in school, the student submits to the who? The teacher. If you belong to a church, as a parishioner, you submit to who?
The pastor.
The pastor. So submission is operated both in the man and in the woman. But somehow, when we're dealing with the affairs of the heart, and when we're dealing with relational things, we struggle with this idea of submission. But how much more important is it to have submission in the home structure than anywhere else? Because that's the foundation of it all. So, in order to have true submission, I think it's important that we understand what it is. Submission. Let me keep things in one place. Right now. Submission. Submission. So you think about a submarine that goes underwater, right? It's under something. So submission is when you submit to the mission of the family. So you both are getting in line and submitting to the mission, the will, the purpose, the vision of the family. And as a man, as a husband, you have your role. As a woman, as a wife, you have your role. So how do you create a system of submission in the household? So my wife and I, we first get married. She comes from her marinade. I come from mine. Different patterns, different cultures, different expressions. So we buckle when it comes to finances. We buckle when it comes to how we raise our children. We buckle when it comes to just a number of different things. And we are convicted in what we believe. And there's nothing you're going to say that's going to change my mind, because this is the way it is. This is the way it's always been done, even though it doesn't work for my marriage. So what we made a decision to do, I mean, think about it. She comes from a different denomination than I. She comes from Word of Faith. I come from Pentecostal Apostolic tradition. You see there's differences there, right? Doctrinally, there are differences there. So we made the decision that we were going to unlearn certain things and relearn new things to have a new perspective, a new concept and idea. So, as it relates to a system of submission, as men, it is our responsibility to be the head of the home. Is that correct?
Yes.
But the problem is, it is assumed that because we're the head of the homes and we're the leaders of the homes, that we're supposed to know everything and we're supposed to do everything. And that's just not the case. So what I want to do is give you a comparative analysis and compare the husband as the head of the home to the President of the United States, who is the head of the nation. Okay? So the President, Barack Obama, George Bush Jr., Clinton, George Bush Sr., Reagan, you can go all the way back to Washington. They were the leader of the nation. They were responsible for the safety and the protection and the forward movement of the nation. They established government that led the nation, much like we should have government in our homes. Now, when we broke off from the British, we created a new system, a new way. In 1776, there was a document called the Declaration of Independence. Remember that? Yes. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to serve these rights, governments are instituted amongst men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that when any form of government is destructive to these ends, it is the will of the people to alter and to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying it on such foundations that are secure for their safety and protection. So they created a document that says, if the current system that you're operating by does not work for the nation, you recreate a new form of government and laws that benefit the people. So as a family, where the Bible is final authority in our lives, we have a declaration of independence where we set ourselves apart from the culture of the world, and when we step into our homes, we enter into a new jurisdiction governed by Scripture. So now the Bible becomes final authority in our lives. So, as it relates to a husband being the head of the home, a husband doesn't know everything. Just doesn't. Can't do everything. Just doesn't. So, like a president, he establishes what is called a committee. Right? He has advisors. He has a council. He has an administrative team that he's governed over different areas of the nation to govern the nation. So he has the Department of Defense, right? He has the Defense Ministry, whatever they call it. All of these people who are over different things. National policy, foreign policy, agriculture, energy, jobs, everything. He ultimately makes the decision, but he seeks the wisdom of others to help him formulate the best decision to govern the nation. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So as it relates to your household, it is important, especially if you come into conflict, that you identify someone outside of yourself that has greater wisdom than you in a particular area, that you both as a couple can submit to their wisdom to govern your home. So as it relates to finances, we sought out Dave Ramsey, who has a phenomenal